Hey friends, welcome back to Rewildology, the show all about conservation, travel, and rewilding the planet. I'm your host, Brooke Mitchell-Norman, conservation biologist and adventure traveler. Did you have a childhood experience that set off your life's path? What was that moment? Were you at home exploring your family's woods and discovered your connection with nature? Were you on a trip abroad and exposed to a phenomenon that deeply moved you? Maybe your moment happened in college and a professor said something that completely changed your perspective. When did you know that you wanted to do what you're pursuing? Today's guest, Pedro Fruet, vividly remembers the exact moment that he decided to study and protect dolphins as his life's mission. Surfing off of the coast of Casino Beach in southern Brazil, Pedro encountered bottlenose dolphins for the first time and fell in love with the species. Casino Beach has a culture focused on ocean conservation, and every summer that his family visited the area, his love for the ocean grew. He later received his Ph.D. in Biological Oceanography, and with the help of his colleagues, he determined that the bottlenose dolphins he swam with as a kid was their own subspecies, the Lahille's bottlenose dolphin. Through his studies, Pedro discovered that only 600 individuals currently exist in the population. Now, he's focusing his attention on the local community to reduce bycatch, the species' #1 threat. Pedro is a 2021 Whitley Award recipient, which is how I met him. The Whitley Fund for Nature provides support and training to grassroots conservation projects around the world. The Sir David Attenborough is a WFN trustee, which just shows you how prestigious this organization is. If you have a grassroots conservation project that needs funding, I highly recommend checking out whitleyaward.org and apply for one of their grants. I loved my conversation with Pedro, and I'm very excited to share his story with you all. I'm thinking we might need to get a group of us together to visit Pedro in Casino Beach. COVID ruined my trip to the Pantanal, so I'm looking for any excuse to travel to Brazil. Who wants to go with me? Send me a DM on Instagram if you're up for a South American trip. Maybe I'll just have to put one together. If you're liking this show and have a free moment, subscribe to this show so that you never miss a future episode. And give the show a rating and review wherever you're listening. If you'd like to join a community of other awesome conservation-minded folks, join the Rewildologist Community Facebook group by clicking in the link in the show notes or searching for Rewildologist. Alrighty, everyone, now on to my conversation with Pedro. Thank you so much, Pedro, for coming on and visiting me today virtually in Brazil to join on Rewildology. So I love to start really painting a picture of who you are. So let's go back in time and explore some of your history. When did you know that you wanted to go into wildlife conservation?
Yes, that's a good question, and I am connected with the marine life in the wild since I was a child. I grew up in a city that's the capital of the state in south of Brazil. It's relatively far from the sea, but every summer my family traveled to the coast, to Casino Beach, for spending holidays on the coast. And every summer, my mom, my father, and all people around, all the time, make me feel very, very positive and connected with the beach and the marine life. So I started to surf when I was 12 years old. And during this surf session, I have my first contact with bottlenose dolphins, and then this makes me much more connected with the wildlife. On the other hand, this in Casino Beach, we have a university that has the course of oceanography. It's the oldest and the first course of oceanography in Brazil. So
Wow.
we have a culture here about all this, the protection of the marine environment and on the coast. We have many NGOs that were funded by people for oceanographers, and this makes a culture of conservation biology here. When I was eight years old, I did a summer course with these guys in the NGO called NEMA, that is in Portuguese, Núcleo de Educação e Monitoramento Ambiental. And it was so good that I repeated it for four times.
Wow.
every summer. And this course was 20 hours of course with children, with young people, to understand the ecology of the beach and the interactions between the marine life and people, to explain the process regarding the ocean and the marine life. And I was so happy with this and spent all this time there. So it was it was not only one thing that makes me to decide to move on the conservation biology, but it was many things that happened in my life when I was young. I had a neighbor. I have some neighbors that they are professors on the university on the oceanography course. And these guys, they all the time was explaining to me the process about all my curiosities about the ocean and the weather and storming and why the storms happening and this all this fact. So it's all these three forces. I would say it was this the NGO training when I was young, my family, and my neighbor. That is I would say that his name is Professor Norton Januka.
Wow.
So this is when I was young. After that, I have this connection with the dolphins, with Bottlenose Dolphins, the Lahille Bottlenose Dolphin. And I think that was on that time that when I was maybe 14, 16 years old, I decided I want to make the difference and to prevent all this beautiful ecosystem to degrade or to be polluted, and for these animals to decline. And after that, I met one guy when I was on the university, when I was cursing the biology course. I have the opportunity to know Lauro Barcelos, that is the director of the Oceanographic Museum. That's part of the Federal University that's based on Rio Grande City. And this guy helps me a lot. He is my mentor. He's opened the doors for me for science, for conservation planning, and all the time help me with all his forces to makes me a better person and a better scientist. And yeah, this is in very brief. It's a little bit of my story on how I am here today and talking to you about my professional life.
Yes, absolutely. So what were your degrees in? Did you end up getting your PhD or your master's or your bachelor's? So what was your educational stepping stones?
Yes. No, I am a biologist. After my bachelor, I did a master degree at the Federal University here in Rio Grande in Biological Oceanography. And after that, I did my PhD in Biological Oceanography as well in the same university, but I did my PhD in a cocktail program. That is part of my PhD was here in Brazil and part was in Australia, in South Australia at Flinders University, that I spent 1 year doing some genetic studies on there. And this is my degrees story.
Yes.
I was, just to let you know, I was in a postdoc position last year in developing some conservation projects with cetaceans that they are the reason to be here to do the conservation. But now I have a position on the, I'm not sure how to mention this in English, but it's a Secretary of Environment of the city of Rio Grande City.
Wow.
So, yes, and so now this is what's going on now.
That's wonderful. So it sounds like you're going to have a major impact then. So you're part of like the government now, like the local government. Did I interpret that correctly?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Heck,
Thank you for
yeah.
for translating.
Yeah, no, I got you. No, that was perfect. That was great.
Yeah.
So as I was rewatching that beautiful presentation that was put on your work, when did you discover that the Lahille's bottlenose dolphin was its own subspecies? How did you figure that out?
Yes. Well, in fact, it was not only me. I'm just part of this process. This is very important to make clear. It was colleagues. It was a pieces of a big puzzle. And I was part of this, publishing one paper on genetics. But I have some other colleagues that they are taxonomists, and they published a paper showing that morphologically these animals were completely different from bottlenose dolphin cells, or
Wow.
the oceanic bottlenose dolphins, and using the genetics study that I have published in the past in 2014, and then after another one in 2017. The information was used to make strong these evidences, sum on and to on this puzzle, and it's, so now it's accepted by the Committee on Taxonomy from the Society for Marine Mammalogy as a subspecies. But in Brazil, the government accept this as different species. And the publisher that was paper by my colleagues, it was published in the Journal of Mammalogy, and they published it calling for a different species and not a subspecies.
Oh, wow.
But this is just taxonomy. I think that the point is they are a different entity. They function as a different entity that's completely isolated, reproductively speaking, genetically speaking, and morphologically speaking, from the adjacent populations of bottlenose dolphins here. And they behave very different as well. They have specific behaviors that is associated to the coastal areas. They go inside the estuaries, and the distribution is very, very short. It's only between southern Brazil and Argentina, and 90% of the sightings of these species are very close to the coast. Very, very close, within the one nautical mile, I would say. So they're very, very coastal animals, and this makes them very vulnerable as well.
And so that's the perfect segue. So it sounds like then they're coming probably in a lot of conflict with humans then, if they're constantly on the coast. So in your research and your colleagues' research, what have you found have been some of the biggest threats to these dolphins?
Well, there are several threats for dolphins that are living on very close to the humans. As we are, as a human beings, we of course we need to develop. We need to do some constructions, industries, and people need to fish, and all these have some kind of threat for these coastal animals, pollution as well. But today, I would say that the most acute threat that we have is the bycatch on the gill nets, and on the artisanal gill net, I would say. And some dolphins die every year from being captured on the gill nets. The numbers are not huge because the population are not huge. The population is very, very small. Just thinking about the whole subspecies, we estimate it's rough, but it's the estimate that you have today. It's rough, but the numbers are less than 600 animals alive.
Wow, that's insane.
Yes, and here in Casino Beach, where I am based on, we have it's part of the Pats Lagoon. We have the Pats Lagoon estuary. That's the world's chocked lagoon, and the coastal areas. We have the largest population of Lahille's bottlenose dolphins. It's a resident population that use the estuary on a daily basis, And we have another coastal population that are just going, that do not use the estuarine waters, stay on the coastal area, and they are different populations in terms of the animals that compose each one of these units. And you have, considering the estuarine population of Lahille's bottlenose dolphins in the coastal one, here we have about 120 animals, and this is the largest population for the whole subspecies. We have maybe a record of 6 animals being captured every year. This is the minimum estimate, and the number sounds very but this is not a large number. But the problem is that the population is very, very small, and having 2 captures in fishing nets every year, removing animals from the population, as the Lahille's bottlenose dolphins, as almost all cetaceans, are very slow growing and slow reproducing. They don't have the capacity to how do you say this?
Replenish or replace.
Replenish or replace this the numbers that are being bycatched. So we face a very acute threat that potentially is affecting the population to decline in a medium term. And for sure, if the fisheries change the area or change the effort, this can be the numbers can be much higher than 6 animals. So the fisheries, they are very, very dynamics, and this is something that we should be monitoring in close detail to detect any change in fisheries and in numbers of dolphins being caught, and how this is affecting the population dynamics as well. So this is why we are monitoring these animals since 1974. That is the first effort that we have for the research with this population.
Wow, that's amazing. And so, since you all have identified that bycatch dolphins, or just bycatch in general, is one of the biggest threats to them, so how do you engage? I would imagine it's the local fishermen, or if there's more of a commercial fisherman or industry there, how do you engage them into this conversation? Like, what do they think about all of this? Do they care about the dolphins? Or in your experience, how do you help solve that?
Yes, this is a good question, and this is why the Whitley Awards is so important on this time. I am, as I said before, I am a scientist, and doing science, it's, of course, that's very, very important step. But what we have detected in the last decade maybe is that only doing science and publishing the papers is not enough to protect the animals, as we have a social problem together. And it's very hard to convince the people that are giving money, that we should look for the social approach together with the science-based one, because the most part of charities or people that are giving money for research, they just give for the research. They do not give for social science together with the research, that the monitoring that we are doing with dolphins. It's normally they do money for do surveys and do more surveys. And this is, again, why the Whitley Awards is so important at this time. We have established, with all this data that we are collecting for the last 20 years, the Brazilian government has established a protected zone for the bottlenose dolphins here in southern Brazil, where we have the largest population of Lahille's bottlenose dolphins. The fishery was banned from this area, and in 2012, but to start it, it's a paper problem. It was approved in 2012, but during 2 years, the fishermen should have all the information. So between 2012 and 2014, it was only the process to inform people and So the protected area should be starting on 2014. But since then, we have seen that the protected area is not working because the animals is still dying on the protected area. They are fishing in there. The fishermen is still fishing. Of course, that it's not all these fishermen that is not respecting. So what we have today is we have a protected area for the animals, but we have people fishing illegally inside. We have the public power doing enforcement. That's not enough. Arresting people. So it's a social conflict, and the environmental problem, the conservation problem, persists on the time. And our question was, why this is happening? Why we are failing to protect these animals as we have this the protected area established by the federal government, and why they are disrespecting? And we started to interview some fishermen, and it was so clear on this. It was a very preliminary study that there was no social study with the fishermen when the protected area was created. It was we call here a top-down decision making, and the government failed to approach the fishermen and to consider all this community as part of the process. And this is why it's not working. So the Whitley Award, with this project that we approved now, it's the chance to bring people together for the process. One of I would say the general aim of the project is to work to monitor the dolphin population to see what's going on with the population dynamics. But the most important is we're gonna interview the fishermen. So we're gonna interview the institutions that are part of the law to build the laws here. How they are communicated with each other, how they are communicated with the fishermen, and after and identifying the gaps, the communication gaps, and have all the knowledge of the fishermen bring them to the process and making these people part of the decision to find a common solution. This is something that's very hard to do, but the community responded in this preliminary study very well. Why they will contribute. I think that this is your question, and I should place my answer is because they claim to be part of the process, because they feel that they were ignored, and they are very happy to contribute, to be part of the solution. And it's a very, very challenging project, I would say, because it's much easier to work only with dolphins, watching the population dynamics, to analyzing data and writing papers on the office with your door closed. It's much harder, much harder to go outside, to listen people, to identify the gaps, to identify opportunities, to share experience, and then to make all this data together and say, okay, so with this, how can you conserve the population of bottlenose dolphins and other endangered species, and at the same time allow the fishing to fish here, the fisheries to develop as well. And this is very, very challenging. So this is the way we are putting our energy right now.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, I couldn't agree more. I mean, this seems to be such a common theme when areas are quote unquote protected. They are now just a swath of land or piece of ocean that is now protected under the government, but not all stakeholders were brought into the conversation. And so then somebody is left out, somebody is hurt by this piece of land being protected. And then, I mean, there's so many issues that can arise with that. And we see that all over the world. You know, some people have to move out of their homes and out of their ancestral land because a national park is being established. And sometimes they're not treated fairly. And it sounds like one of the most important stakeholders in this situation, the fishermen, was completely left out of the conversation. So that is wonderful to hear that they are excited and willing to talk to you, because in a lot of other situations that sometimes isn't the case, or maybe they might just be so upset that that they don't even want to talk to anybody. So the fact that somebody's finally listening to them sounds like it's going to hopefully go well in your experience.
Yes. It's I think that it's for professionally for the fishermen, it's better to be part of the process and to find a solution, because nowadays this activity is being it's not easy, because they should move to much far away to fish because the area is closed, because some fishermen are being arrested.
Wow.
And they are not. And you know, when we see this kind of situation, we just feel that we failed, because this is not right. It's not fair, and we should think different, because they are artisanal fishers. They are not from the industries as well. Yes, I think that's challenging, but you know, I'm very positive that we can do it, that you can find a common solution or a better solution. And when I'm saying this is that I can't say that the bycatch will be zero. This is something very, very hard to say. But is that, okay, maybe the bycatch will occur, but we should reduce the bycatch at the sustainable levels. And the bycatch today is not sustainable anymore. Because if you say, I would set a zero bycatch quota, let's say, it's not possible to achieve in medium term. Oh, yes, you can do it. Just say you cannot fish here anymore. And this is not the case. We should just find a solution to reduce the pressure on the population. And better, that if you reduce all this pressure on the Lahille bottlenose dolphins with the fisheries, there are several other species that are threatened that will benefit for this. It's how you say, it's
an umbrella species.
It's umbrella species. Yes, it's umbrella species, and the ecosystem here, the Patos Lagoon estuary, it's very, very important for the fishermen, for the society as a whole. And I think that we have a very good opportunity to make the difference.
It sounds like it. I mean, just like in so many other places around the world, like these fishermen could potentially become your biggest ally. I mean, they are the ones that are on the water every single day. And as much as, like, you know, us scientists would love to be around our species every single day, you could have a whole fleet of people out there that are your eyes and ears that are also watching the population. So not only could, you know, the social situation be leveled out, they could be brought into your research. And I mean, I don't know if you have any plans about that, but, you know, I've studied a lot of just human wildlife conflict around big cats, and some of those common areas, it's, you know, with poaching and bushmeat snare issues that are happening with that. And some of those people that are engaging in those activities could be the biggest allies because they know the wildlife best. And so if you become best friends with these fishermen, I mean, who knows? You might have like the best citizen scientists out on the water with you as well.
No, yes, I think that step by step,
Yes.
The first no, the first step is to have it's to understand their needs.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're gonna do now. For sure that this will approach to the fisherman community much more than we are today. We're gonna stay very very close with these people. We are developing a mobile application. This is part of the project that is financed by the Whitley Fund for Nature. To monitor, to ask people from the community to monitor the illegal fishing, and a second one to, if possible, we are now talking with these guys that will develop the mobile app to ask to the fishermen to give the opportunity for the fishermen to be part of our project and adding some information about the dolphins. As you said before, your comment was very, very, very good to say that become the friend of the fishermen, and if the fishermen can be part of your project or and contribute for science, and this is what we are facing now. We have this challenge to make this mobile application for these fishermen. It's an interface to start the process of fishermen feel more part of this all the research and the conservation process that you're doing.
Oh, that's wonderful. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun, and that the potential is so high for some really amazing things to come out of it. Having all these eyes and ears on the water that can help you. So what about the rest of the community? So I know we've talked a lot about fishermen. What about everybody else that's in this area? How do you plan on engaging them, and what has been their reaction so far to the idea of having this project come in?
No, yes, the community is in general, they are vibrant with the Whitley Fund for Nature support. Just to make part of a foundation that has given 18 million pounds to more than 200 grassroots conservationists and benefiting wildlife habitats and communities in over 80 countries. So now you're part of this. And this is people here, they are very, very happy, and they are responding very positive. But for engaged people, that is more specific to your question, we plan to give some training for teachers, for the community, to act as a multipliers of knowledge. And on this course, we're gonna show the importance of conserve the coastal ecosystems, how they can benefit, how the conservation will benefit their lives in the future. And in fact, we are planning to train three different group of people. That is the teachers, is the women from the fishermen community, and other locals that deal with tourism here, that receive people, because here we have two jetties that goes 4 kilometers to the sea, and these jetties has some rails and some cars that just slice. How you say this in English? Just go to these rails with wind. We call vagonetas. That's the wagoons or something like that. I can show you. It's
almost like
it's not easy to explain in English, but
yeah, it's like a catamaran or like a big is this the kind of boat you're saying? Like
no,
a really
it's
big
not boat because it's under the rocks. And you have it's like a train, but it's not a train.
Okay.
Rails,
yeah.
and then train rails that goes with the wind.
Oh wow! Yeah, definitely send me pictures of that, like a sail.
I can share with you. And
okay,
these guys will be trained as well with some educational courses and to they receive too many tourists, and so more and more and more to spread the word, and these jetties, they are exactly on the mouth of the Pats Lagoon where the dolphins are.
Oh,
so
wow.
you can watch the dolphins from the rocks, and you're gonna train these guys to explain more and more about the bottlenose dolphin population, how smart these animals are, and the value to conserve all the whole ecosystem. So, and this is one, I think that's one approach to engage people. It's talking and talking and talking, and with the mobile application as well, and going to the internet, and we have 3 videos or 4 videos that we, for 1-2 minutes, that we're gonna record and then broadcast on the internet, and pay for the internet to spread the word. So this
Wow.
will communicate a little bit more with all kind of different publics that are connected with our project.
Wow. Yes. I love everything that you just said. That's amazing. Education is just so valuable. I've been advocating for years that education is one of the strongest tools that we have, period, for saving pretty much any issue. And I love to hear that you are also focusing on the tourism industry. That's more of like my background as well, as in conservation travel. And there's so much power in well-ran conservation travel. And so they could be your biggest allies as well. The guides that might be leading these tours, they can be ensuring, and they are also eyes and ears as well. So if they're always out with tourists, they can also be watching to see what's going on. And if anybody's breaking any rules, and then really engaging and making people care. Like, why should this person from miles and miles or kilometers away care about the bottlenose dolphin? So that is awesome. Yeah, and those videos,
Yeah.
whenever those are ready, send them to me. I will blast them out as well.
Yeah, for sure. The application for this mobile application that we are developing, we will train this group of people to use them, and to be like a citizen science and
Yes.
surveillance. So this group of people that are connected with the marine life, and lifeguards as well, that the lifeguards are all the time looking for the sea, to report by this mobile application, to report unusual behaviors of dolphins, the number of dolphins that are passing through, or illegal fishing as well. So this is one way to engage people, is to give training and to give the opportunity to participate in the project. This will connect people, wildlife, and the research as well. This is our plan.
I
Let's
love
see.
it. No, I love it. I love it. I love it. My master's, one of my big master's project, I did something similar, where I built this very, very basic app to record big cat data that as people were out on safari. And so I just love the idea of citizen science, because it is very powerful for getting people engaged and to make people care. So,
but you should give, I think that I am really excited with this as well. And to have all this data to be robust, or to be useful for us, we should provide training for people. So they will know how to use, how to report the data. You don't need to be a biologist to be a scientist, or to be part of a conservation project. You can. It's just a kind of citizenship. Just be a citizen that loves the ocean, that loves the ecosystem, that loves nature, and you can help. We're gonna provide the training and show you how to use this mobile app for. Of course, that I'm just telling much more about the Lahille's bottlenose dolphins and the ecosystem here in Brazil, but a mobile application can be developed for any kind of environment or situation.
Right.
This is something very good for the informatics. This technology. It's amazing how they are doing.
Yes. Gosh, that's amazing. And that's another thing that I love about this so much. And I'm so glad that more and more scientists are opening their minds to the idea of citizen science, because, there's so many papers out there that bash it. They're like, the data is invalid and blah, 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 blah. But just like you said, as you train the people how to use it, how to make correct observations, then yes, there is obviously some things might be a little off. There's always those outliers, and you're like, okay, we'll just sweep that under the rug. But for the most part, though, you have all of these eyes and ears that are way more places than you are, and then it becomes a long-term wildlife study. That is what I love so much about it. So you'll have more data than you can possibly imagine about the dolphin. So that is awesome to hear. Like, I'm so excited to hear this, because I care personally about this, and I'm a big advocate for citizen science. And I did a very similar project, like I said, for my master's. So I've seen it work. Like, it works. That is so exciting. So you'll definitely have to keep me posted as that develops, because I want to stay up to date on that.
Yes, we are very excited with all this, and it's challenging, but it's very how I say this, but I believe that we're gonna succeed, and and it's good that it's challenging. It's just take you out of your comfortable chair and situations.
Take you right on that comfort zone. Actually, make some real impact.
Yes. Let's go for it.
Let's go. That's wonderful. Awesome. Well, Pedro, I like to let's shift back to you for a little bit now and get to know you a little better here. So, in your journey so far, what would you say has been your biggest personal struggle in going through everything that you have, and how did you overcome that?
This question is very hard to answer. It's a very good question indeed. Not sure if I have one struggle, but what I can say about my history in doing conservation with this animal is that, at least in Brazil, that is a very hard place to do science. I think that is, you don't have too much opportunities to do the job that you should do about science and about conservation, and because you don't have financially speaking, we don't have this the support. This is one. How should I overcome this? It was with persistence. I never gave up about my dreams and about what I think that's right. And this is a general, and it's general, but I think that's the most challenge issue that I faced along these 20 years now. And it was difficult to persist on time, because and have all this history and data collection and consistent surveys, having people together with you, training people, have other people's involved, and sustain and maintain these people, this research group together. This was the most challenge situation. It's not regarding the animals and not regarding the fishermen. It was regarding the research group to be here with people that were training and still here with me. Yes, I think that this was the challenge, the most challenged situation that I overcome. And we overcome with persistence, to applying for funding everywhere, and succeed and have succeeded in funding applications. This makes possible to be here.
And also giving you the platform which this is one thing that I love. So I will be completely honest, I never heard of the Whitley Awards before. And that's how you and I connected. And the fact that they've also been so adamant on getting your name out there, that, I mean, that is just so special, because I mean, my platform is, getting bigger and bigger as I grow this podcast, but someone might listen to this a year from now and want to connect with you. And who knows, that might be an opportunity for some more funding down the road as your project is really starting to get its wheels underneath itself and going. So, yeah, I love it. Persistence is key. Persistence is key.
Yes, no, it is, because it's hard. It's a long way, and it's easy. It's not easy, but it's part of the game. Sometimes you to just give up. A lot of people give up because it's much easier to do another thing and get your money and live your life. And it's part of the game. As I said, it's part of the game. But it's persistence for me is the most important in along this journey. And the Whitley Awards, it's so important for me because they are not only giving money, they are training people. They are making our profile, the profile of the project to be out there, shedding lights on the project, international lights, and this, I'm very sure that this will give us the opportunity to have more and more support and funding opportunities, and it's amazing. It's amazing to have a film narrated by Sir David as well.
Yes. That's a life goal for everybody.
Yeah, it's like a dream for any biologist, yes. Conservation biologist. I never imagined this situation, and yes, and I'm very, very happy with this the support for the Whitley Foundation. Let's see the future, and let's see how you're gonna develop all this project if you succeed to reduce the bycatch of bottlenose dolphins and to be connected with colleagues from South America. We are very excited to start. So we are now starting the project. We are now starting.
That's so exciting. And that's such an inspirational story as well to anyone, because I think that sometimes, because funding is so hard to get, just like you said, it doesn't matter the country. I mean, some countries, obviously, it's harder than others too, but it's just, there's so much good and so much work that needs to be done, and such a finite number of grants out there to help with all of this work that we want to do. So it's just so inspiring to hear you, as someone that's been working on this for 20 years, and finally you're like, I landed it. I landed that grant, and now we're going to do this massive project to save the species that I love so much. And it just makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. That's amazing. That's amazing.
No, yes. And I forgot to mention for you that during my PhD, I have traveled along the entire distribution of the Lahille Bottlenose Dolphin. So I have visited all these sites where the species occurs, where we know at least, and collect some biopsy samples to do the genetic studies and to define the management units, to define the population, subpopulations. And it was so good experience to travel around Argentina and Uruguay and in Brazil, and connecting with people that have the same dreams that you have, that are fighting for the same reasons, for the same purpose as well. And I think that this was as well some kind of that gives him some energy to move on, and connecting people and sharing stories and know different kind of people and visions about marine conservation, about the life, because it's not only about marine or conservation biologists. You are traveling and connecting people and listen beautiful stories about about the life and the nature. And this was one of the key steps, I think, that I just forgot to mention before. Have you been traveling to South America?
So I actually, before the pandemic happened, I was supposed to go to Brazil. I was supposed to go to Pantanal to go see jaguars down there. And then, of course, that trip got canceled for obvious reasons. I've been to Ecuador and the Galapagos. So that's about as far south on this side of the globe that I've been. I've been all over Asia and Africa, but for some reason, I haven't really been down to Brazil yet, which that's like so high on my list. I need to go to Brazil. And I want to keep going down. I go down to the Patagonia, see the mountain lions down there. Because even though I live with mountain lions, I still have yet to see one. I don't understand how this is a thing. So apparently I need to go halfway across the world to see them, which I'm fine with because I love traveling. So I'm fine with that. But yes, so Brazil is extremely high on my list. I want to go all across the Amazon, all across down to the Pantanal. And then it sounds like I need to go to your field site here and see some dolphins.
Yes, sure. Come here, and if you come to Brazil, you know that here where I live, the Casino Beach, it's a little bit different from the rest of the Brazil that maybe you have in your mind, because here it's we are more. It's a subtropical. It's cold during the winter. Now it's 9 degrees. It's raining. It's completely different scene, different culture. I would say we are culturally we have a lot of in common with Uruguay and Argentina. A lot because here I am 20 kilometers from Uruguay.
Oh, well, that makes sense. So that's not far at all.
It's easier to go to Uruguay or it's the way is shorter than to go to the capital of my state.
What would you say then is a good piece of advice for any biologists out there or anybody who's wanting to follow a similar path to you?
Be persistent. Never give up. Believe in feel yourself and discover yourself and be persistent, because it's a long way. It's not easy. You should be informed, and you should be informed all the time, reading papers and reading what's going on outside, and understand the vision of the different vision of people around you, and call the people to the process of the conservation. Otherwise, you're gonna live. It will be very hard to do the right thing. This is my advice for now.
That's good advice. That's great advice. And how can somebody abroad, so say someone in the US or the UK or Africa, how can somebody else that might not be where you are help with the Lahille Bottlenose Dolphin?
Support Causa, that's the organization in charge of this project. Causa, we have a limitation now that we don't have a way to. There's not knowing a way to donate something or to on the internet. We are working to do this very, very brief. Otherwise, you can just say some words to support our work. It's not only about money. We are very open to listen, to discuss, and to have idea from outside. If you are in the US or in South Africa or in any part of the world that's not the Patos Lagoon estuary or southern Brazil, you can just share your thoughts and support our project. I think that this is the best way now to do something for the Lahille's Bottlenose Dolphins indeed.
That's beautiful. And if anybody wants to connect with you, maybe they have an idea or maybe want to offer volunteer time, how can somebody connect with you?
Oh, I can give you my email.
So okay, if you want to.
Yes, that's no problem at all. Yes. Or the cause, not sure. Should I spell it or I send to you and you.
If you want to go ahead, since this is an audio format, if you want to just spell it, and then I'll also make sure it's in the show notes.
Okay, so my email is pfruet@gmail.com.
Perfect. So pfruet@gmail.com.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, that's great. And of course, if anybody reaches out to me and they want to get a hold of you, I will immediately put you two in contact. So
thank you so much for that.
Yes. Thank you, Pedro, for meeting me literally across the world and spending an hour of your day to talk with me. I can't wait to get this out into the world.
No, I should say thank you for the opportunity to be here, the opportunity to share a little bit of my story, a little bit of the Lahille's Bottlenose Dolphins needs, and all what our research group is doing for the last 20 years. I'm very, very, very happy to be part of your podcast. So whenever you have the opportunity again, just call me and I can come here to say how all the project is doing, and yes, let's chat again.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I would love that. Let's stay in touch so that we can keep up to date on everything as this develops. That would be wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Pedro. Hey, thanks again for listening to this episode of Rewildology. If you like what you heard, hit that subscribe button to never miss a future episode. Do you have a cool environmental organization, travel story, or research that you'd like to share? Let me know at rewildology.com. Until next time, friends, together we will rewild the planet.